Hey Meeple people, how's it going? On today's video, we are going to be playing Vinyl Jukebox. This is a game for just 2 players, takes about 30 minutes to play, and is for ages 10 and up. Let's take a look! Oh, hello, Sarah. And hello, Vinyl Jukebox. So this is a 2-player version of all of the Vinyl series.
Not exactly.
Not?
It's by the same designer, and it's sort of like set in the same thematic sort of universe, kind of. But it is like a standalone game from the other Vinyl games. And what we're doing here is we're adding 45s to our individual jukeboxes. But that's kind of different from what you're doing in the rest of the Vinyl universe, which is collecting vinyl for like our collections. So this is a little bit different thematically and very, very different mechanically as well.
Could you give us an overview?
Sure. So like Nick said, it is a 2-player game. It's a bag building game. So we each have a bag, and inside of the bag, we start with some coins that we're going to use to try to acquire 45s that we'll be putting into our jukebox. The game starts with the same things in both of our bags, but as we play the game, we have the opportunity to add gold coins to our arsenal, and we may give our opponents rival coins as well. So we start with the same thing, but our bags could end up being different along the way. We're also going to start with our individual jukebox, which is where we're going to add these 45s into this section right here. And we start with 3 scoring cards. We get to look at these scoring cards, but we're going to have to choose one to put back in the box. And then at the end of the game, of the 2 that we have left, we have to score just one of them. So you have to choose which one of the scoring cards you're going to keep, and then which one you're going to score at the end of the game as well. So the way that the game works is we are going to be, like I said, drawing these coins out of our bag and placing them on these rows of our jukebox right here in order to try to get attributes that are needed to acquire the 45s. So for example, with this one right here, I could meet the conditions of this one right here for the genre, but I would also need one for the era, which is 40s, and one because that's a B-side. So in order to acquire that one particular 45 I've just shown you right there, in addition to that guy, I would also need a 40s token, which is right there, and a B-side token, which is right there. So eventually, as I'm drawing these coins out of my bag, I will need to get all 3 of these coins onto one of these rows so that I can acquire this 45 right here. So as I'm drawing out the coins, let's say that I draw out the first one, and you have to draw these out one at a time. So I'm sort of cheating here, but I want to show you what's going on. So I draw out the first coin and I put it there. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I draw out the next one and I said, okay, it's a 40s. I could put it down here if I want to, but I know I want that one. Maybe it's one of my scoring cards or that kind of thing. And then let's say I draw out another coin. Okay, this one's a 50s. Now this doesn't have any of the attributes I need to get this one. So I'm going to put this on the second row instead. Say I draw out another coin. Let me kind of cherry pick the one I want here. Let's say that I draw out this A side. Again, I don't need an A side for that, so I'm going to put that in the same column as the 50s. Now, hopefully, I'm looking forward to some other thing that I'm also looking for so that I'm not just randomly dumping all of my trash here in my attempts to get everything that I need here. So I put this here. I draw out another A, let's say. Now I already have an A in this row right here. If I want to, I can cover up that A with this A right here. So if you get a matching coin, you can put it directly over the top of one that shows that attribute as well. Okay, and then finally, I draw out the B that I need for this one right here. Now, as I am drawing out coins, I can stop at any time that I want to stop drawing coins. I can stop drawing and I can stop putting them into this area over here. I can also choose if I want to. Let's say that I draw out this coin and I don't need this in either of my rows, but I do see a 45 over here that has this attribute on it that I might want later. I can put it here in this next play area instead of putting it here, and that will allow me to put it back in my bag at the end of this turn. Eventually, I'm going to come to a position where I've either filled up all of the rows here or I want to stop. As I am filling these up, if I cover over these diamond symbols here, then my opponent gets to reach into their bag, draw out a coin from their bag, and place it into their jukebox rows as well. But eventually I'm going to get to a point where I've decided to stop or I've filled up my rows here. Now, at that point, I can do a couple different things. I can either spend a coin if I have, let's pretend that I have a full row here. That would go here, actually. And that's good for our example. All right, so let's say that I have this full row right here. Now, I could, if I want to, spend coins from this row to acquire a 45. And I did say that I wanted this one. I was trying to get those. So to get this 45, I will need to spend 1 coin for each of these attributes. And it has to come from the same row. So this one here, I'm going to spend this coin, and 1 of my B-side coins to get this one here. The way that I'm going to do that is I am going to take all of these coins right here that I used to buy this, and I'm going to drop these down into my coin box. And then all of these coins are going to shift all the way to the left. Now I've acquired this 45 and I can put it wherever I want to in my jukebox. If you think about the jukebox as being a grid, it's a 3x3 grid. So there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 spaces where I can put this 45. Any one of those 9 spaces is where I can put this. Now, the reason that might matter is because on these cards that we've been given at the start of the game, we have a configuration of specific genres that we want in specific places in our jukebox. So if I'm going after this one right here, I'm going to want this 45 right here. If I can manage to get one or more of these particular genres in these positions as called for on this card by the end of the game, I'll get 2, 4, or 9 points depending on if I have 1, 2, or all 3 of these in each of these positions. I will talk a little bit about this more later. In addition to your end of game scoring cards, you'll also want the 45s to be in particular places in your jukebox, because anytime you complete a row or a column of specific 45s with specific attributes, you get bonus tokens, which are worth points as well. So let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that I had, okay, let's say that I've just added this last 45 into this column right here. Now, all of these have different genres and they have different A and B sides, but they're all from the same era. So now I have met the conditions of the 40s era across all 3 of these here. So I can look over here and I can acquire this one right here. That says if there's 2 or more 40s in a row or column, then I get this, and it's worth 6 points. Now I'm going to take that. It's going to be worth points for me at the end of the game, but as sort of like a catch-up mechanic, my opponent is going to get one of these copper coins, and it's going to go into their coin box. And then when they refill their bag, which I'll talk about in a minute, they're going to get to put this coin in their bag, and then they will have an extra 40s coin for the rest of the game. There's a bunch of different tokens that we could use here, and we just pull out random ones at the start of the game until we have the requisite number that we need here. So we've got this random setup, but there's more in the box, and you can kind of like mix and match so you have different ones every game. So in addition to scoring your rows and columns and cards, there's one other part of the card that you'll score for as well. And that's at the end of the game. For every 40s that I had, if I was going to choose this scoring card, for every 40s that I have anywhere within my jukebox, I'll get 1 point. For every A that I have anywhere in my jukebox, I'll get 1 point. Now, if I can manage to have both of those attributes on the same 45, then I will get 4 points. So for example, a 40s would be this one right here. This one, if it was in my jukebox at the end of the game, would get me an extra 4 points. So there's a few different ways to get points, and as we're playing the game, we can manipulate different things to try to arrange our jukebox differently. One thing that the rules do say that I don't 100% understand why you would do, but I'll tell you about it anyway because it is in the rules, is that if you haven't locked in any one particular row or column, let's say that I have it's looking like this in my jukebox. I can move not the 45s, but I can move my entire jukebox if I want to rearrange these. Now, I can't change their relative position to one another, but I can change how they're arranged in the jukebox. So, for example, I could like do that if I want to, or I could do maybe that or that. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure why you would do this, because in my mind, you could just place the 45. There's no placement conditions on the 45s. So as soon as you acquire this, you can put it wherever you want. And when you're placing these and you're thinking about the different attributes that you want in rows and columns, you cannot score for a row or a column until all three are there. And so I don't know, like, it's not like, I could score for this and then like move this and score again. It doesn't happen like that. So I don't really know what the advantage could possibly be about moving your jukebox around. I haven't played the game enough to quite have that click into place for me yet, but it is one of the rules. It says that as long as you keep your 45s relative to one another, then you can move your jukebox around. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's in there. Okay, so I think I have told you everything you need to know. Like I said, at the beginning of your turn, you can do one of two things. You can either reach into your bag and get coins, which you put onto these slots here, or instead of putting coins out here and having the option to buy 45s, you could instead clear out your coin box. So eventually we're going to have a lot of things in our coin box, right? Like I'll have bought some 45s, or maybe I would like to exhaust a row, which I don't think I talked about, but it's something that I can do if I'm like, you know what, I've put a bunch of stuff in this row and I'm not seeing anything that I really want that I can get with those coins. So I'm just going to exhaust a full row instead. If I do that, then I get to choose one of these gold coins that I'll also add to my coin box, and then I can kind of dump everything, sort of like just kind of recycling things. But eventually I'm going to have a bunch of coins in my coin box. And on my turn, as an option, instead of adding coins to these rows here, I could take everything in my coin box and put it back in my bag. When I do that, my opponent gets something, a gold coin, I think,
right?
They
get to put one coin back from their coin box.
That's right. They get to take just one single coin from their coin box and put it back into their bag. And this can be really useful to you if you have, like, let's say that it's Nick's turn and both my A's are in my coin box and I really need an A for some reason. And he does the action where he clears out his coin box. I could say, oh great, I'm going to take one of my A's and put it back in my bag. Now one of my A's is in my bag and I have a chance to pull that out because I really need that for some reason. So I think that's kind of an overview.
That's a good overview to get us started.
I was going to say, I feel this is a little sloppy, but I think you kind of get the picture.
You get the idea of what this game entails. And also, disclaimer, we did receive this from Talon Strike Studios, and we appreciate them giving us this copy for this video. And that doesn't color our judgment at all.
They have also sent us the holiday edition of vinyl, which we haven't tried yet, but I'm very excited to try. We had the original set of vinyl stuff, and I never did have this part of that set. So I'm excited to have this as part of our collection now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what, if anything, is different about the holiday edition.
So yeah, thank you Talon Strike Studios for sending us this copy, and we're excited to get to play it and also show it on the channel for everyone else that is interested in this game and wants to learn more about it. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it, and then we'll come back midway through the game to give you kind of an update on how we're feeling. All right, well, we'll see you guys then. Toodles! Hey Maple people, so we're back here while we play Vinyl Jukebox, and we're midway through the game, probably maybe a little more than midway. And so we'll go ahead first with Sarah. Sarah, how far, how are you doing so far?
Probably not real well. So we've played this game once or twice before, and I think it's got an interesting puzzle to it, but it's one that like defeats me every time. It's not overly complicated. It's really not, but it like gets in my head and just like ties me in a knot, and it's a little hard for me to feel like I'm doing well or even like I'm having fun, because the puzzle just ties me in knots. And like I said, it's really not that difficult. You have these different 45s, and each one has 3 different attributes, including an era, a genre, and an A or a B side. And you're basically just trying to configure your jukebox so that those attributes line up in ways that you want them to. And if you can get a row or a column to share one or more attributes, then you can get like bonus tokens. But you're also trying to adhere to like certain configurations on like secret bonus cards that you're trying to achieve. And for me, it just seems like there are too many details to keep track of for this to be going well for me, which is weird because it's really not that many details. Each 45 only has 3 attributes, and you only have to match one attribute across a row or a column. But in my mind, I just keep trying to like match as many attributes as I can. So I'm trying to get like perfect rows and columns, even though that's not even like required for scoring at all.
Do you think it's iconography overload?
No, I don't think so, because it's very clean. Like you can tell that this is the trumpet player, it's the 60s, and it's a B-side. That's really easy to tell. So, and I mean, there's nothing else on the 45 to distract or, confuse or anything like that.
I was talking more about the...
Oh, like this in the jukebox? I don't know, because again, like it's very simple. It's just rows or columns, and each row or column only has 3 45s in it. So just looking like, and they don't do that the diagonals, so you don't have to worry about the diagonals. It's literally just like this column or this row, and we only need to be matching like one single attribute across any one of those things. But like in my mind, I'm just trying to make them like perfect. Like over here, this row right here, I was trying to make it all 45s and Bs. But I can, no matter what, even if I were to be able to do that, I would only get to score for one of those attributes, either the 40s genre or the B sides. So like even if all of these were like perfectly matched across here, I would only get to score for one of their like matching attributes. So I'm not sure exactly why it's giving me so much trouble, but it is. I want very much to like it because I love the theme. I really like the theme of the original vinyl too, which is like we're in a record store and we're like sorting through all the vinyl that are there, and we're like looking for, like treasure. Which I myself have done numerous times in my lifetime. I actually have like a collection of vinyl and a record player, and it's like one of my prized possessions. And I've been in situations where you're collecting vinyl and you're so excited that you found like one that you've been looking for, and just the pleasure of like listening to vinyl on a rainy day or that kind of thing. It's a lovely theme. I love the theme, but I don't know. The puzzle in this one's not that hard, but I just can't seem to get my head around it. It's got a push your luck element to it as well. And I don't think that this is mentioned on like the BGG stats or anything like that, but there is this push your luck aspect where you have stuff in your bag that you don't necessarily need out here if you're trying to get a specific 45, and that stuff can actually prohibit you from getting the one that you need because there's only 4 spots on each of these rows, and you have to spend coins from one single row to acquire a 45. So if I fill up this row with stuff that doesn't match any of these 45s, let's say that I just like fill up this entire row with all genres and I have no A or Bs or any eras, then like I'm not going to be able to use that row to actually acquire any 45s because it's not going to have the era or the A or B side. It's only going to have genres. So there is this kind of push your luck aspect when you're drawing your coins out of your bag and you're placing them on these rows. You're trying to build these rows thoughtfully so that you can acquire one or more of the 45s out here based on the coins that you've placed in that row. But there's not enough room in the row where you could just like put anything you want there without thinking about it. So you've really got to kind of think about where you're going to put the coins that you draw in these rows. And there's a little bit of breathing room because you can stack identical ones. I think I mentioned that in the beginning, but like if I pulled out another 60s, for example, then I could, if I want to, stack it on top of this 60s right here and continue to like draw coins. And then later when I spend coins, I only have to spend one of those. So there is a little bit of breathing room, but it's definitely got a bit of push your luck aspect. There's more built-in breathing room here as well, because if you pull something out of your bag and you don't want to play it in either one of your rows, if this spot is open, you can put your coin there and sort of like just hold it until the next turn. So if that's going to get underfoot here and cause you problems, then you can tuck it over here as long as you haven't put anything else over there. But there is definitely this like sort of puzzly aspect of like, okay, what do I need? Which attributes do I need to get lined up in one row so that I can acquire a 45 that I want? And if you can do it, if you can think well enough ahead, you can actually say, okay, well, I actually have my eye on these two right here. Okay, they both have the 50s attribute, but this one's an A, this one's a B, this one's the trumpet player, and this one's the singer. So like, I'll put the 50s down in one row, and then I got the singer, cool, I'll put him down in the same row as the 50s. And then before I get either an A or a B, I pull the trumpet player. Okay, well, even though I can only get one of these with that one row, I'm going to go ahead and put the trumpet player in the same row so that no matter what I get, an A or a B, I can get either one of these with that row, right? But if you get lost or if you don't pull what you need and you don't have enough space, then you can end up having to like scrap an entire row because it cannot be used to get you anything, or it's in your way and you want to try to like start over on that row. And if you do that, you do get to get some of the gold like helper coins. Those are only one-time use coins, but they can be very helpful. They have 2 attributes on them and they can be used as either one or both of those attributes when you're paying for a 45 with your coins. And then they have to go back to the supply. But you do get one of those if you have to like sort of scrap one of your rows. So there's a lot built into the game that is, I think, supposed to kind of cushion, the mistake making potential for players. But I am still making a lot of mistakes, it feels like. And I really wanted to get my jukebox laid out like perfectly so that I could get, every time you complete a row or a column, you get to look over here and see if you've matched one of these sort of attributes. So if, like, for example, if I wanted to get this one here, I would have to have all 3 of the 45s in that row or column. They'd have to have this singer on there. And if they did, then I would get this tile here and it would be worth 10 points at the end of the game. So I'm trying to like lay my jukebox out in a way that I can acquire these while meeting my secret objective as well. And I'm just not doing it very well. But yeah, anyway, so Nick, how's it going over there? You have 2 fewer spots than I do, or one fewer spot than I do right now. So it seems like you might be doing a little better than me, maybe. You also have more bonus tiles than I do.
Yeah. So you can not rush in this game, but you can kind of go for the end, because if one player is going to end the game when they fill up their jukebox, and then the other player can still score and get tiles for their incomplete row or column, but it has to be there. The tile has to be there, and also they have to be able to claim it with the right combination of symbols.
if the game ended right now, then I would be able to score this column right here. Even though it's not completely full, it still meets the objective of 2 of these singers. So I could score this right here. Now I'm trying to get this one, but if Nick ends the game before I'm able to do that, then at least I can have this one. If you have a row or column that you couldn't score over here for, then you just get 1 point for each 45 in that row or column. So you still get something, but really these are worth quite a few points. So you want to try to get these over here.
Yeah, so that's a little bit why I'm trying to go a little faster than Sarah probably is to put the pressure on, but also like try to maybe get more points in other than her, than what she can get. So that's a little bit of a strategy in this game. You can push somebody and try to rush to the end as long as you're also getting points, because you could rush to the end and figure out you don't have the points to match. But also I feel like if you can see someone doing that, then you can kind of catch up to them and be like, well, I'm going to, I might not finish before you, but I'm going to get points just as much. But yeah, so I think it's a very puzzly game, and there's a lot going on with, the board. And I just think there's a lot of icons going on, but it's not bad. It's not bad. The rule book is something else, though. It's not great. But
it wasn't as bad as some rule books I've seen. But there was just some formatting which made it more difficult to understand.
Yeah, it tripped you up.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but
it was just the formatting. I think it just, it made it look like one thing was supposed to be something else, or this was in a different, it just could have been formatted a little bit better, I think.
Yeah. So far so good. We're it's going okay. But we're going to go ahead and get back into it and come back at the end of the game announcing who is the winner and who collected the 45, the most valuable 45 collection. And then we'll talk about kind of likes, dislikes, and who this game is for and who would want to get it. So without further ado, we're going to get back into it, and we'll see you guys at the end of the video. All right, toodles! Hey, people. So, the winner of Jukebox, or Vinyl Jukebox, is Sarah. She had 58 and I had 51. She got a lot better tiles than I did. And then she also got bonus points, more points from her end of game scoring objective, like private card, than I did. So she won out by 7 points. And yeah, this is a very puzzly game with a dash of push your luck. I like it. I like it as a 2-player. It's a nice, easy 2-player that I feel like you could easily get someone in for a casual game, and it wouldn't be too complicated. I think the only thing, the iconography might get people that don't play board games a lot, but I really do think the theme will get a lot of people that are like, ooh, jukeboxes, CDs, you can pull those people in. Yes, the theme will get you now. And I think the theme is something that is just unique and that piques people's attention and brings them to be more open to play this game, especially being a 2-player and something that you can teach somebody and not try to wrangle a bunch of people in, but just one at a time, and then you get the bigger games out. But yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed it, and I personally prefer this version between the other ones that have been out there. Now I know they've been played a little differently.
I was gonna say they're really different.
Yeah, they're different, but I think I just personally like the 2-player version of this. And there have been other games that have made 2-player versions of their Splendor Duel, Tokaido Duel, and Boss Monster Duel. I personally have enjoyed those 2-player kind of challenges and back and forth. But Sarah, what did you think about Vinyl Jukebox?
Well, I love the theme. Like Nick said, it's a pretty unique theme, and I love music. So it's really cool to see games about music and about like curating a collection of music that you really like or that kind of thing. I personally feel like it's maybe not an underutilized theme, but it's definitely one of the more unique themes in the board game industry. So I love the theme. Um, the puzzle that's inside this game is pretty simple. You're just trying to get, these rows and columns so that you can score these different tokens here. And that in and of itself is pretty cut and dry. But I think the thing that makes it pretty challenging, aside from the little bit of push your luck element about getting the coins you need in the places you need them in order to get the 45s, is actually the availability of the 45s. Because I had this situation earlier in the game where I was like, okay, I think it was right here, actually. Yep, this one right here. I was like, this one right here, if I could get this 45, it would be perfect in this location. And if I was able to do that, then I would have scored this one here instead of this one here. So this is the one I got the score, but if I could have gotten this one, I would have gotten this one right here, which would have gotten me 3 extra points. And then I also would have gotten to score some other tile as well. But the thing is, this one was way down here in the stack, right? It was down here. It wasn't going to come out in time for me to get it. So the puzzly part of the game is that you're like, okay, I know exactly what I need, and I can manipulate my coins to get those attributes available in my coin row, but is that 45 even out here? Or do I need to kind of be flexible and say, okay, well, there's not a perfect one out here, but there's one that's got 2/3 of the attributes that I'm looking for. And that's, I think, where the game becomes that slightly more complex puzzle, is like, all right, well, I'm not going to get a perfect situation because the tiles are not out there for me to like achieve like the ultimate perfection, So instead, how can I pivot the best way possible so that I can still score as well as I possibly can, given the current reality, of the game state. And I think that's where the brain burn is coming in for me a little bit, is because I'm like, I'm visualizing like the perfect layout and like, okay, if I can get, these 3 attributes right here and these 3 attributes right here and these 3 attributes right here, then I can score all kinds of points. That's like the most ideal situation, but like realistically, that's probably not what's going to happen. So if you can kind of break yourself out of that, like, I have to have it done perfectly sort of mindset, which has always plagued me. And you can be a little bit more flexible, then I think it starts to become a little bit more fun. I'll be real honest, like in the middle of this game, I was feeling pretty downtrodden and I was feeling pretty like worn out by trying to solve like the puzzle. But as the game wears on and you end up having to like pick something that's gonna mean that you don't get like perfect scoring opportunities, then it kind of breaks that window and you're like, okay, all right, well, if I can't do perfect, I'm gonna do as well as I can. And once I got past that point, then it was a little bit more fun for me. And I actually, by the time we wrapped up this game, I was like, okay, if I can move away from like it's gotta be perfect mentality and just do the best with what's available realistically, then I think it could be pretty fun. We've played this now a couple of times, and I think I would probably like to continue to try for my own personal, like, let me see if I can break out of that mentality a little earlier in the game so that I can enjoy more of the game more quickly. I think that I would like to try that. Because like Nick said, it is fairly simple mechanically. It's that strategy and that, puzzle that's interesting. So I think that I would like to continue to try it. And I also think that there's enough replayability here where you could play it very many times without starting to get bored, because like I said at the beginning, there's a whole bunch of these different tiles that you can pull out, and there's a bunch of these different cards, and every game you start with 3, you pick 2. Of the 2, then you, like, by the end of the game, you've really honed your focus into 1. So that all provides, quite a bit of replayability as well. So I think you could play this
pretty often without getting bored of it if you liked how the game works. And it's growing on me. So I'm willing to continue to play it and try it, especially since Nick said that he likes it. And it was like, it's very easy to set up for the most part. It plays fairly quickly. So we could just get in like, a half an hour sort of puzzly game. And I think that's a nice time sort of like limit for the game, because games that have this sort of like weight and feel to them, I feel like some of them take longer than that. So it would be nice to fit it into a shorter time period. And like I said, I really, really like the theme.
Nice. The only thing that we talked about that we were kind of like, we don't understand why it was here and it didn't really make sense, and neither of us have actually used it, is you can actually move the entire jukebox around to rearrange things. And you can't rearrange the 45s that are already placed in there, but you can rearrange the jukebox, move it around to try to position it in different ways. And I think that's just salvaging a one of your scorecards. But neither of us have really used that, and so it's something that, I don't know, just didn't seem like was...
I think in one of the earlier games we played, I had 2 scoring cards that were like kind of similar to each other. I'll see if I can find a really quick example. But I had like 2, here's like a not terrible example. All right, if you had these 2 scoring cards that you were going to play with throughout the game, and you've got this blue singer and this red-haired singer, and they're like both in the same relative position to each other on this card as they are on this card. And then this guy here, he's in a totally different position, but it's the same on both cards. So if you for whatever reason, if you were going to start on this card and then things got away from you and you ended up closer to this card, I think moving the jukebox is supposed to make it so that, like, okay, if I've got these 2 in this position, but maybe they're like over here, then I could move the jukebox if I needed to, so that the relative position of these 2 to each other doesn't change, but it changes within the area of the jukebox, so that I think that it's supposed to help you, so that if you needed to change like how things were in your jukebox, then you could do that. The only thing that like nags at me thinking about it that way is like, I don't understand why you couldn't just place the 45s in your jukebox. Like, I just don't get that part. It says in the rule book, it says that you can, it says, you may move all placed 45s together as a single unit, as long as their relative positions to each other does not change. So you move the frame of the jukebox, not the 45s. But again, I don't understand why you wouldn't just place the 45 in the position that you wanted it to be in at the start. I think they're just trying to give you another way to have a little bit of flexibility if like your plans have gone slightly awry, or if, like I said, the reality of the situation isn't lining up with like that perfect scenario for you. I think they're just trying to give you like a little bit more wiggle room to get out of that kind of like that position. But I don't entirely understand it. Maybe someday we'll be like on our 50th play of Vinyl Jukebox, and I'll be like, wouldn't it be so cool if you could just, and then I'll be like, that's why they say you can do that. And if that happens, we'll let you know. But until then, consider myself thoroughly confused about that point of the game.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Vinyl Jukebox for you. Again, thank you again for Talon Strike Studios sending us this copy of Vinyl Jukebox and the
season's greetings version, which I am really excited about trying. This is a 2 to 4 player version of like the original Vinyl, so not Jukebox, but another game in the same sort of like universe, and it looks really cute, and I'm very excited about trying it. And I love that it's in this compact little box, because a lot of the rest of Vinyl are in like bigger boxes, and there's like quite a few of them, so I like that this is just like a self-contained little tiny treat for the holidays.
Ooh. Ooh. Piece of candy. So yeah, again, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got something out of it. And yeah, watch some more of our stuff. Don't play games because we're playing games. Playing games is awesome, and that's the goal of our off time, is to play all the games. Nothing else. Just
No
games.
eating.
No eating, no playing with our
sleeping.
puppies, no sleeping, no resting. Nothing else. We go to work, we come back, we play big games. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So without further ado, we'll see you all later. Toodles!